everyone, it's Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is your daily catalyst for January 1st, 2020. I get to finally say that. Happy New Year to everybody. I really am so grateful that you're here. I truly mean that. I'm just really overjoyed with taking the step to bring this information to you. So I wanted to record the daily for the first now before I go out and celebrate in my own way the new year and the new decade. And I wanted to share the astrological transits and the astrological weather for the 1st of January 2020. So we get to ring in the new year and the new decade, well, for the calendar new year and the new decade with the moon in the last decan of Pisces. She just came off of the conjunction with Neptune on the 31st and now is moving into that last 10 degrees of Pisces, which is really the last 10 degrees of the entire zodiac. So it's very interesting. The moon, which represents us and our internal feelings and our emotions, our moods, it's actually kind of interesting that it's moving into the last degrees of the entire zodiac on New Year's Eve as we cross over into 2020, which will likely be a pivotal year for all of us on planet Earth. And so I just think it's interesting that the moon now is in these last degrees of the zodiac, kind of wrapping up how we feel about things and wrapping up our internal sense of our place in the whole scheme of things. I just think that it's interesting. So if we're wanting to feel connected to each other and to the whole, this last decan is the way really to do it. This is the mastery level. The moon has the potential to really inspire us through the sextile to Saturn and Pluto, which is happening today. Here is our, on the 1st, here is our sextile, Pluto and Saturn. This is the degree points right here, and you can see the blue line is the sextile. So we're inspiring us through that sextile, mostly through supporting us to really let go of the expectations and the fear surrounding the major reorientation that comes along with this Saturn and Pluto conjunction happening actually next week. I cannot believe that I'm saying that it's happening next week. It's been something that we've been leading up to for a very long time. The fact that it's right here is kind of amazing. The moon in Pisces can act like a solvent, dissolving all of our edges and little hard bits when it comes to the very real changes that are unfolding right before our eyes. You know, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is happening at a singular moment, but these are very slow-moving planets and their energies hang around on and are prominent for long periods of time. So we're definitely been feeling the build up to it. And now the moon, which is very transient and is about shifting internal landscape, now that it is making a harmonious aspect to these really dense and long-term energies, it could really allow us to dissolve right into these physical and lasting changes rather than resisting them. And I think this is also a fitting set of transits for the changeover into the new year and the new decade. The next major aspect today is the moon in a trine to Mars in Scorpio. Let's get my, there we go, Mars in Scorpio right here. In the last degree of Scorpio, by the time the trine happens, this is for 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but when the trine happens, it'll be 6:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is hunger. This is desire at its peak experience, Mars and Scorpio at the last degree. We have reached a point of all investigation and are now ready to do something with that intensity. This is the power that we use for transformational alchemy, and Mars is definitely charged and ready to go when it comes to developing this thesis that will come about in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about the big picture and understanding and synthesis of ideas. So much. We've discovered so much, and much of it has been very uncomfortable, but all of it has been absolutely necessary for this broader understanding and this big picture. This is one of those moments where we could succumb to this hungry Mars in Scorpio and be pulled further into our delusion. That is absolutely possible. Yet this is also a moment of hope and healing where we actually surrender. You know, Neptune in Pisces is the hanged man in the tarot. It's the 12th card, and this is surrender. So if we surrender to Mars and take the full report of his investigation, there is a possibility for hope and healing. We absolutely accept the work that he's done and feel connected to source, regardless of what darkness has gotten drawn to the surface. If we can really connect to this moon in Pisces in a positive way, whatever's coming up here, we will be able to handle it, and it will in fact harmonize and align with, this gives us, like I said, the opportunity to surrender to what is coming finally to the surface and will be used as the point of alchemy when Mars moves into Sagittarius. The moon then goes void of course, which means that she doesn't make any other major aspects until she shifts signs, which will be into Aries. It's just giving us a few hours to reflect and absorb this energy from the sextiles and also the trine to Mars and Scorpio before she changes gears entirely and begins the cycle again. So we've gotten to this point of surrender and dissolution into the source, and we start it over again where the moon will come into Aries, which is the seed point, which represents Aries is the ego and the divine masculine, the emperor, the I am that I am, the beginning of the cycle. This is an initiation. Moving into Aries, we're going to feel motivated and activated, and like we have dominion over every aspect of ourselves and what we create. And this is perfect initiatory energy for the new year. It seems like all these things are lining up really well. So up until this point, things feel kind of very divinely ordered, and if we surrender to them, we can really get some inspiration, and we can really take to heart what Mars and Scorpio has brought up for us, and not feel pulled around by it, but feel that we are, no matter what, we are always connected to source and always connected to something divine. And these other aspects can always be shifting and moving, but this is never going to change. We come from the same source. Now, after the moon moves into Aries, she's going to meet Chiron first. I think this is going to be our first stumbling point into the new year, especially considering all of the squares to Capricorn the moon is going to make on the following day, because it's all the Capricorn energy, Mercury, Jupiter, the south, and all of this stuff. The moon is going to come all around and square all of this tomorrow. If we identify too much with Chiron and the victimhood identity, this could cause problems throughout the week, the rest of the week with all the squares to Capricorn. Perhaps if there were no consistent squares the following day with all of this Capricorn energy, and to top it off, on the following day, at the end of the day, is the first quarter square, the sun to the moon, which is a crisis in action. I might be inclined to view the moon and Chiron as more of a nurturing and accepting energy of it's the, depending on what sign it would be, the moon may be willing to hold that wounded part of us, to accept and acknowledge that, to help us to nurture in order for us to express it and to, be kind to ourselves. But having them both in Aries, it does not feel like that's going to be the case. It feels more like we can identify with our wound and feel very passionate and activated to do something about it. Now, that could certainly turn into something useful. We might definitely feel motivated to do something positive, to burn that away and to release what's holding us back, release that wound finally, so that we can move forward. But it also could easily go into identifying yourself as the victim. And that's I think it's a high likelihood based on everything else, and based on the fact that the moon is going to square all this Capricorn energy the following day. So that's your New Year's Day 2020 Daily Catalyst. I will see y'all tomorrow for the Catalyst for the second, which I have a feeling is going to bring a completely different energy. That's the wonderful thing about life on planet Earth. Every day is a new opportunity to make choices and to create what you want to create. And astrology is a very useful tool to give you a sense of what you could expect and how best to harness that energy to author your own story as opposed to feel like a victim to circumstances you cannot control. So I just added a service to my roster for the year ahead reading. Everything that you need can be accessed through the description box below. I really appreciate everybody that's here, that is subscribed and are participating in this journey, and I will talk to you on the next video. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Happy New Year, and I will talk soon. Bye.